our audience is supposed to know that we're celebrating?
I poisoned your drink. Don't ever do a show without me again.
Wow.
Never.
Okay. I mean, the audience is furious.
I know. All the comments were, where Ian? I miss Ian. Ugh, Steve again? It's classic stuff.
I don't feel like that's what happened. Hey, everybody. This is Steve, my good friend Ian. We are here talking about some unsung heroes.
And I love this one.
This one's going to be tight. I also am loving this. We picked a Space Marine character that people don't usually play, and what we're going to do is we're going to talk about that, and while we talk about that, you should sub to the channel.
Yes, please.
Yeah, sub, like, comment, keep the conversation going. And on the topic of conversations, let's rip into it.
The Librarian.
Yeah, the library. And we're not talking about like a Terminator librarian or anything weird like that. None of the Space Wolf weird ones.
Nobody fancy.
No one fancy.
No ruin priests.
Yeah, no. Just the basic librarian. What I love about this model is, one, I mean, the model looks awesome. Like, I see no lists kind of with him anywhere.
And, when we were doing our homework, kind of looking up all the benefits and what units he can go in and whatnot, I kind of was shaking my head that I don't play it more.
Yeah.
It is 65 points.
That astounds me. He's so cheap.
First of all, his abilities are great. His shooting attack, not too bad.
Yep. Close combat's okay.
Let's talk about those abilities, though.
Oh, they're everything.
And the abilities that he has, which is a 4-up invulnerable save for the unit, which is incredible.
Oh, so good.
And a 4-up feel no pain versus psychic attacks.
Mm-hmm.
This allows you to essentially have a unit that will shut down things like Grey Knights, because so much of their stuff is psychic. All their close combat is all psychic.
Yeah, it's all psychic.
And so not only do you have a 4-up feel no pain, which will slow them down.
Yep.
You also have a 4-up invulnerable save, which will stop a lot of that damage, even reaching the feel no pain stage.
Yep.
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
Things like demons, chaos demons.
Yep.
You're going to put a wrench in that game.
Yep.
Thousand Suns.
Stop it all.
Even some Tyrannid stuff.
Yep.
Something that you mentioned, make sure you ask. If you have a small hint that it might be a psychic attack,
ask.
Just ask your opponent if it's a psychic attack.
And make sure they check.
Because so many things are that because the psychic rule doesn't really matter all that much.
It's
but in this
keyword.
instance, this 65-point instance, it's amazing.
Yeah, and it does, and it matters. It matters a lot when it matters. Like, most of the time, you'll never come in contact with it, right? But when it matters, it will matter a lot because it actually skews the math a wild amount. So let's say you have 10 intercessors and this librarian, and they get charged by like a big pack of like Grey Knight Terminators or Grey Knight Strike Squad Marines or whatever. Mm-hmm. Those Strike Squad Marines, in almost every other instance, would blender all your intercessors and it would be over.
Fully wipe the squad.
Right? But now what happens is you get all 4-up invulnerable saves. So you stop there, or you're taking like your 5-up or 6-up saves or whatever, and you get 4-ups.
You tank 50% of it.
You tank 50% of it right out the gate. And then you deny 50% of the damage left over. And on multi-wound models, that matters a lot because they hit you with a 2-damage sword, expecting to lift an intercessor, and then you go, nope, I take 1 because I saved the other, because that's how the math works out. Mm-hmm. And then it takes 2 hits to kill every intercessor, and they straight up don't have enough attacks for that. No. They do not have enough attacks.
And there's a decent chance that you might just pass both of them.
Yeah. 4-up invulnerable save, 4-up feel no pain versus psychic attacks. It's all awesome. And the more universal one is, of course, the 4-up invulnerable save. And he protects like a variety of different units. Let's go over what can he actually join?
He can join Infernus Marines, Tactical Squads, a Devastator Squad, Assault Intercessor Marines, Desolation Squad, Hellblasters, Intercessor Squad, and a Stern Guard Veteran Squad.
So what on that list really stands out to you as, this is what he needs to go in?
Well, without giving him any enhancements inherently that would just what works the best,
yeah,
I kind of like him with Infernus Marines because it allows them to last a little bit longer to get into position to do what they need to do. Mm-hmm. Because a 4-up invuln save is gonna tank a lot of damage. if you're in a repulsor and you get out and you start blasting fire and you know you're going to be taking fire back, having a 4-up invul save is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not incredible on the Hellblasters because sometimes you kind of want them to die.
Yeah.
Though for a 65-point increase, if that's what you're worried about is them dying too early and not being able to pop off their shots on death, then that's a huge
It's a big
choice.
deal, yeah. The Hellblasters are good. I actually really love him in both the tactical squad, the inner, like any of the battle line units. I think he's great for. So tactical squads, intercessor squads, assault intercessor squads, but in particular the ones that shoot. The reason I say that is because like a tactical squad is 140 points.
Yeah, so
right?
the tactical squad plus him is 205.
205 points for 11 guys. Right? And 24 wounds. And that 4-up invul is going to make that tactical squad way more annoying than it ever should be.
Especially if you kind of put them in a place that they can really take advantage of that 4-up invul.
Yeah.
Essentially like throwing them at the blender because you know that they can tank a little bit more than they should.
Yeah.
So like them in a rhino getting out, moving forward, shooting a bit, making a charge, and charging a unit that's actually good in close combat, like has high AP.
Yeah.
And you just go, I don't care, man. I'm just going for the 4-ups.
Going for the 4-ups.
Yep.
And then they sit there and they're so annoying.
2 OC.
Yeah. Oh, it's so annoying. And then depending on what detachment you're playing it as, there's all kinds of benefits that you can like kind of make with this. For example, so let's say you're playing Gladius. And you get in there and you gum something up. You maybe lose a couple tactical marines, but if you spike the 4-ups, then stellar. And then you're like, all right, on my turn, I choose the tactical doctrine, and then we back out, shoot, and charge something else.
Yeah, so
right?
good.
They become just so annoying. Or if you're using like Stormlance, being able to advance and charge them to pull that off is great. If you're using Firestorm, I mean, the regular bolt guns on the tactical marines don't actually have any keywords. It's just a straight attack profile. So giving them
Strength
all
5
like strength
at
5 is actually really good. Plus also the assault keyword, very good. Tactical marines can also take like a really weird, dangerous set of weapons, right? They can have like one multi-melta and one melta gun, right? Or a grav gun and a grav cannon, right? And or like a las cannon and a melta gun or something. And then you can like move, and if let's say you're playing Iron Storm, and you get that one re-roll, it's always to the las cannon. Or, you know what, some of the updates for Dark Angels make them really good too. Unforgiven Task Force. Point at them. They're all OC3 now.
Yeah, it makes a tactical squad with the Librarian
Right?
a very low point cost investment for a pretty awesome unit.
Yeah, really annoying.
What do you think about Sternguard veterans? Because they have the same profile as the standard tactical marine.
Except for the OC1.
Except for OC1, yeah.
But the guns are way better.
And the combat's better.
And the combat is better. They have more attacks, right? Which is great. A tactical marine, I believe, only has 2 attacks.
Yep.
Where the Sternguard vets are having 3. And I really actually like that. I like Sternguard vets with him too because their rule transfers to him really well because now he's re-rolling 1s to wound against the oath target. You can get just a little bit more mileage out of him and the guys. Plus, like they really do need a little bit of that extra defensive support, right? Because 4-up invul makes them suddenly really tanky, right? And now they're no Blade Guard vets or whatever, but they've got the shield of a Blade Guard vet, right?
4-up invul. You're at 65 points to give everybody a 4-up invul is a decent.
It's worth its weight in
decent
gold.
investment. And then also he's not too bad in close combat, not great.
No.
Pretty swingy in close combat. Shooting, not so bad. The thing is, if he's the only guy in the unit that has a hazardous weapon, the damage has to go to him.
It does, yeah.
Whereas if he's in a Hellblaster squad,
it doesn't matter.
everybody rolls, and potentially his hazardous check goes on somebody in the unit because they shot with a hazardous weapon. So he can kind of save himself and kill a Hellblaster, which is the best possible outcome because then they have a pretty decent chance of that Hellblaster shooting again.
Yeah, which is excellent, right? And the Hellblaster rule actually, like, I'm pretty sure transfers back to him too. Because if hypothetically, let's say he is like sniped out, like by precision weapons, and then you can roll a 3-up and shoot a smite because of the Hellblaster's vengeance strike or whatever it's called. Like, I find that hilarious.
That is funny. Yeah, it's almost like a, do you want to snipe him out?
Do you want to snipe him out?
Yeah, he might be able to do too much damage in the shooting phase.
Way too much damage sometimes, because if you overcharge, it's strength 6, AP 2, D3 damage.
Yeah, and
it's D6 shots.
And it's devastating
wounds. It's devastating wounds,
yeah.
Right? So he's actually much better than I gave him credit for. Like, and he's more universal. And because he's so cheap, like, I actually do think about running, like, 1 or 2 of them in those 10-man squads, like, to make them really annoying. And I would never put it in a 5-man squad, though. Would you? Like, I don't think it's ever worth it.
It depends on probably the battlefield layout and if you've brought a transport for them. Because if you brought a transport for them, they're kind of stuck in there. That being said, if you do that with tactical squad, you can split them into 5s, and then it kind of gives them a different kind of tactical play, because you could like keep some in the back, hiding away so that they're just guarding table edge and doing actions and whatever, maybe just holding your home objective if you need somebody to do that, and then he could push forward in like a rhino with the remaining 5 and go for some close combat threat.
I love it,
which is an interesting thing to talk about, because I think the bonus that he gives is incredible. Cover is pretty much everywhere in this game, so Tactical Marines and any other units that you can join, which are all 3-up saves, they're going to have cover pretty much all the time. But in combat, there's usually higher AP on a lot of the attacks.
Yeah.
So I think him with maybe like assault intercessors could actually be really interesting.
Yeah.
It gives them a better chance of getting there if something does have high AP in the shooting phase. And once they get stuck in, they're sort of like this weird blade guardy Morphe unit, as they are a close combat unit inherently, but are also now stacked with 4-up invulnerable saves.
Which is awesome. But some of the new Pariah Nexus missions, though, some of the objectives are way out in the open.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so because they're so way out in the open, sometimes you actually need a unit to stand in the open. And, well, this is actually something that lets a unit stand in the open and be okay.
And it doesn't like force you to take an expensive unit to do it, or a unit that you're like, I really need this unit to perform in one way or another. You just go, oh yeah, 10-man tactical squad. I don't really care if they live or die. They're just now a 4-up invulnerable save on the like middle objective.
Yeah.
And you go, you're gonna have to lift that now.
Yep.
Because the OC is way too high.
Way too high. And then what's great about that too is that, like, if you have a 10-man tactical squad sitting on an objective and then there's a rhino right behind them, like, the chances of your opponent looking at that and going like, yeah, that's the priority right now.
Extremely low threat
level.
Yeah.
And that's what's great is that because that 4-up invulnerable, like, let's imagine that you have 2 squads of those. You've got one squad of like all intercessors with just basic intercessors, and then one squad of tactical marines, and you're just bombing around with them or whatever, right? Like you now have OC2 dudes wandering around the table, like running onto objectives and sitting there, and they're so low value and they're so cheap that your opponent is going to go, man, whatever, I got to deal with the repulsor and the vindicator and all this other stuff. But by turn 3 or 4, they no longer have the time or energy to actually like deal with those units.
Yeah, they won't have the damage output by then.
Yeah.
And if they do, their wings will be so clipped that those 4-up invulnerable saves are going to be really nasty when you start rolling.
Yeah. And I think like using them is twofold. Like, one, you can use them in a very defensive way, much like we were just talking about. Jam onto an objective, sit there, hide for a turn or 2, jump out, like establish like control, and then just weather the storm with a 4-up invulnerable save. What's great about this unit too is it incentivizes you to not Armor of Contempt.
We're talking a lot about just the basic librarian and the units. Yeah. What do you think, like, in the basic Space Marine detachment and maybe a couple of the other ones, what sings as far as detachment rules for the librarian and his friends, and what enhancement really calls out to you?
It kind of depends on what unit he's going in, of course. But in my opinion, there's kind of two ways to play it. Let's say you're playing Gladius, and you put him in a squad of Hellblasters. I mean, the fire discipline is the no-brainer, right? Gives them sustains, gives his attack sustains. If they're in the Devastator Doctrine, they're critting on 5s.
And you can just pay a command point to put them in Devastator Doctrine. That's like so much firepower.
It's incredible.
It's insane,
right?
Yeah.
So,
and at that point, when you're like, oh, I'm going to fire with everybody, and then a couple of them die, remember, they have assault and heavy. So you could advance them, get them into a really good position, shoot all their guns.
Yep.
He also overcharges his psychic attack. You lose 3 or 4. You start rolling. You shoot with 2 of them. You're like, oh my goodness, the sustained hits coming out of them on 5s is insane.
It's a big deal.
That is a huge damage buff.
Let's say you're playing Anvil Siege Force, and you're going a little bit more defensive. Great choice with Anvil Siege Force would be Stoic Defender. And Stoic Defender gives him and the whole squad a 6-up Feel No Pain, right?
Oh, man.
And whenever they fail Battle Shock test, instead of going to OC0, they drop to OC1.
The 6-up Feel No Pain all the time is so cheeky on that unit because a lot of the things that threaten that unit are like things like a heavy bolter, -1 AP, damage 2, that bypasses the fact that you're giving them a 4-up invone. The damage 2 is really scary, and all you have to do is roll 1/6, and all of a sudden that stuff's not as bad.
Yep, because they're probably only hitting with 2 of the 3 shots. They'll wound with them both.
That I actually really like. There's sort of a damage soak unit if you take them in just like the cheapest possible, which would be a tactical squad and the librarian, and giving them just a little bit more of it might be the difference between your opponent shooting at that unit and doing a little bit of damage, or asking what that unit has. You remind them, and then they go, "Forget it. I'm going to shoot somewhere else."
Yeah.
Because on the off chance that you pass a couple of these 4-ups invones and then also roll a 6, your opponent might just be like, well, I don't want to waste my damage on that. I'll shoot something else.
Right.
I actually like a couple ones. I'm a White Scars guy.
Yeah.
I love the White Scars. Always have. Importance of Wisdom for rerolling advance rolls. It's cheap. I think it's only 15 points, but a lot of the units that he can join have assault and heavy keyword on the guns. The Intercessors, the Hellblasters with reroll advance is actually pretty nasty because they can get into such a fantastic position. And if you're sort of out of position because maybe you've moved them too far, the Psyker's providing you with all the defense, the best defense that you can potentially get.
Yeah. And you're allowed to stick your neck out if you have to.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's got really good defenses. Yeah. For a character that I never see on the tabletop anymore, and I am actually guilty of never using him. He's really good. Right? And I got to change it. I got to change this.
I think with Pariah Nexus, he has a better place on the battlefield just for the fact that he adds durability onto units. Yeah. And a lot of Pariah Nexuses like stand out in the open and kind of do nothing, which you don't want to dedicate your high value damage dealing units to do. You kind of want to have units that are like just a ball of crud that will get something done and will score you victory points and can potentially just like screen out your opponent or even gum them up. Like getting out and making a charge and being like, you'll never chew through the 4-up infones on all these Marines.
Yeah. It'll be a little while.
Yeah, it'll be a while, yeah.
But you definitely always want to put them on a squad of 10 of something. Don't put them on a squad of 5, I think. Always a squad of 10. Get the max amount of that invol as you can.
I agree with that.
Down in the comments section, put down a way that you think the librarian could be used. Let's get the conversation rolling. I want to talk about it. From everyone here at Hyperspace Hobbies, this is Steve, this is Ian. Sub and hit that like button, comment, join the conversation. Talk to you later. What are you doing?
And psychic.
What?
Psychic abilities, librarian.
Oh my god.
I'll edit it in post.